Apologies for the delay. There was some technical hitch for them to add me in. Really sorry for that. Welcome to the second day of the AITA webinar during the lockdown. And we have some exciting things lined up for you today. So before we start the proceedings, I would like to invite Mr. Biswadeep Akuri, a very dynamic person, individual, and he is the Chief Executive Officer of the All India Tennis Association. Mr. Biswadeep, can you come online and say a few words, please?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
You would probably notice that Suresh's screen also says, gives my name. That was just because we had to do a little bit of quick, quick steps we had to take to get him back on the line. So he is not Vishwadeep, he is still Suresh. So good morning to all of you. Narsingh, good to see you. And I thought I'll just take a quick 1 minute address to inform you that, first of all, to welcome you all to this second day of the SAI AITA Coaches webinar. It's something that we started. It's an initiative, as I said, which was conceptualized by Sports Authority of India and the coaches and tutors of the All India Tennis Association have got together and put up this absolutely amazing program for all of you. I hope you're enjoying this. For all those who did not join us yesterday, we did two sessions. The first session was a session on introduction to the tennis world, the world tennis structure, the ATP, the WTA, the International Tennis Federation, Asian Tennis Federation, and the AITA, and its activities and initiatives. This was done by our own Mr. Narsingh, who you all know very well. And after that, we had a very interesting session done by Gary O'Brien from Bengal, who took us through a set of very interesting home remedies or home tips on tennis during lockdown. I think it was something which was enjoyed thoroughly, and there was the feedback that we have received is that it was really appreciated. So we look forward to, and you also know that we had a celebrity in the form of Mr. Nandan Bal, former national champion, Davis Cup player. Everybody knows him very well, a very, very reputed coach. So we will continue on the same lines. And today also we will have, as you all know, we are planning a session on communication, which is probably one of the most important elements of any coaching interaction, coaching program. And we have, so I'm going to hand it over back to Suresh to take it forward. We also have, as we had informed you yesterday, every day we'll have a little bit of a surprise in the form of a interesting celebrity. Today we have another fantastic, very, very accomplished tennis player who will be joining us. I will not give you the name right now. I will allow Suresh to do the needful. So Suresh, you can kindly take over and let's move forward. Thank you very much and welcome all.
Thanks a lot, sir. And a huge chunk of the credit for this webinar should go to Mr. Biswadeep Akuri because he was the one who initiated this whole thing from the AITA side. Thanks a lot, sir. Okay, so the celebrity for the day. I'm going to give you some clues and let's see if you can guess who it is. He won the Australian Open junior title in the year 2009. Let me see if people are guessing already. Okay, and he has the highest ranking in the ATP as 83. He has wins over players like Lucas Pouille when he was ranked 12 in the world. He has wins over players like Gael Monfils, and he was a bronze medalist in the Asian Games and also in the Youth Olympic Games. Guess who it is? Yes, I think you all know. It is Yuki Bambri. I take great pleasure in welcoming Yuki Bambri. Himanshu, can you add Yuki Bambri to the screen, please? Hello, Yuki.
Hi,
Good
sir. How are
morning.
you?
Very
Morning.
good. Yeah, good morning. Hey, on behalf of all the coaches, I welcome you here. We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's good to interact with fellow players and coaches alike, since we've all been stuck and have no access to to meeting people. But this is the best that we can do. So happy to help and happy to share my thoughts.
To have you. And could you tell us what you've been doing over the last 1.5 months, being locked down at home? We heard some interesting things about you doing things at home.
It's been tough, but I think being obviously an active player, you want to keep active and you want to be able to move around, because you don't want to come back at some point when the lockdown ends, when everything goes back normal. You don't want to come back without any activity. So I've been trying to do a little bit of training. I think it helps having family around who also enjoy working out. So there's always someone pushing you to be able to do it, or you're always seeing someone working out. So you sort of, even if you don't want to, I think they motivate you to do it. So I've been trying to do a few workouts and I have a bit of a space for a wall, so I've been trying to wall practice and practice my volleys, just basically making sure that there's a little bit of activity going on.
This is fantastic news for Indian tennis. So after the lockdown, you're going to come back?
Yes, I was hoping already to be back, but I guess a little bit more preparation now. But I should be back after lockdown once the tournaments resume.
Oh, this is great news. We're all excited to see you back in action. And once this is over, I hope that you will never get into any more injuries ever in your playing career.
Hopefully, I can try my best, and you can try and do the right things. But that's the goal.
Yeah, it's been a terrible thing in your career, especially. You did so well in the juniors, and then in the past few years, you've been, you rise up, and then it looks like you're going to break into the top, and then you get an injury. This is terrible.
It has been tough. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you hadn't had all these injuries, what do you think you could have achieved?
Well, it is tough to say. Obviously, every time you do well, you increase your goals and you increase your ambitions. I think it's the same when I started playing, or when I entered into the men's tennis. Your goals were trying breaking into the top 500 or 300. Then it was to be able to play the Grand Slam qualifying. At some point when you're doing well, you say, okay, let me break in top 150, 100. When you're in the 100, you want to get to 75, 60. But I think my best chance, or I felt that I was really heading in the right direction, was in 2018. I had a good start to the year, and I'd playing all the slams, and I was looking forward to the American circuit. Hard courts have always...
Great performance in Indian Wells, Washington, Miami.
Yes, so I was looking forward to the rest of being able to play the US Open and to play, Washington, Cincinnati, some of the Masters events and the 250 events. I think that was a big chance I felt for me to push my rankings higher. So, I mean, you never know, but at that point in time, I felt maybe a shot at getting close to 60, 50 would be very realistic.
Yeah, that would have been awesome for Indian tennis.
Yeah.
For you, of course, and for Indian tennis as well. Do you have an advice, because you have gone through this experience of getting injured? Would you do anything different in your developmental years to ensure that you don't get injured so much? Do you have some advice, or do you have some knowledge now that you can share with the coaches or the players that'll help them not to be injured?
Well, I over the years with different injuries, I think I've learned little bit more of understanding also how my of how my body reacts. I think initially or for a very long time, it was almost following different people or following different ways, which I think is not correct. I think every coach, I think fitness trainer also out there, every player needs to understand that everyone is different. So in junior years, it was a lot, obviously, which is good. There's a lot of a group training, group sessions. We've all done that. But after a certain point, a certain age group, I think 18, 19, 20, when your body is a little bit more developed, I think you need a little bit more personalized training. And I think a little bit that's where I might have felt gone wrong, even though I had the opportunities of working with some of the good coaches, players. I think it was a lot for me. It was a lot of group training. So I was probably doing the same conditioning or workouts that everyone else was doing, whereas it could have been different for me. So example, someone needs to probably get stronger but runs fast, or someone needs to be more flexible in their body and is stronger enough. So there is a basic program, I think, that I was trying to. So something that I could change would probably be to be a bit more individual, to have a bit more individualized program early on, more growing up in my teen years, or close to 18, 19, when I realized that, yes, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be and how I'm going to progress in my career. So that's maybe something that I could have probably changed,
Right.
or would change if I could go back.
Okay. So it is not just about putting in the hard work in terms of fitness and other things. It's about finding a person who can dedicate their time to precisely find out exactly what you need and design a program specifically for you.
Yes, and it is important, because as a kid, you're not going to know what is right and what is wrong. It's you have this, like having a good teacher, just in the same way in school. It's how the teacher teaches you, to go on with your subjects, or how your parents help you. It's the same way is having a good teacher in tennis as well as fitness, and to probably think about it in a long-term way and not see for short-term gains. Absolutely. As well. That's something I would recommend.
I totally endorse to that. Totally. Talking about teachers and coaches, you had AITA Circuit, who worked with you for many, many years in the formative years. A few words about him, please.
Yeah, it absolutely still work with him. He's been my coach since I've been the age of 11 and 12. So he has absolutely seen my development from the ages since I started playing tennis. And I think the great thing about him was that he learned along the way as well. Nobody knows everything about what's happening or how to go. But as I progressed in my career, he progressed and he understood on how to improve things. So when we would go to tournaments together, when we would play the junior slams, he would see how the other players are playing, how the level was there, what needs to be improved. When we transitioned towards playing the men's, to see the gap between the juniors and seniors, of how the pace had changed. Small examples like that. Suggestions on maybe cutting down a backswing. When I was 14, 15 years old, I had a very big backswing. But when you reach the professional stages, the men's stages, because the ball travels so much faster, you'd be better prepared. So there's small changes, I think, which he learned along the way as well. At some point, not everyone knows everything, but I think what he did a great job was understanding and realizing what he did know, being able to learn, being able to observe matches, being able to observe other players. So that's something, which helped me in my career a lot, was that he could keep understanding, learning. And so we were never lacking behind in terms of what needed to be done to keep getting better.
Awesome. Sounds like a very dedicated person, dedicated to your tennis.
He was. No, he absolutely was. He still is. And I wouldn't have reached the levels I have if he hadn't put in the time and effort that he did.
That's fantastic. So another question I have for you is that you reached world number 1 after winning the Australian Open, or even before that. I'm not sure about that.
Right.
You beat a lot of top players, as in who made it to the top after being beaten by you. So can you tell us the difference between, like you said, you mentioned it now about the power in the juniors and the men. Apart from that, is there any other thing that a junior player needs to adapt to start performing in the men? Or while they are playing, while they are developing itself, is there something they need to add to their game so that they focus on the men rather than the junior?
That's a good point, and that's something which I think a lot of the Indian players or the Indian tradition hasn't done is where the Western world or the Europeans or the Americans have done is they're always trying to find a balance between where they are improving their game and adding to the game for future, as well as trying to do well in the current scenario. I think we usually tend to focus a lot of our attention on just winning and being happy with winning at the under 14 levels or the 16 levels or the 18 levels, and not realizing that the future actually it doesn't mean anything if we don't do well in the women's or the men's, because that's the end goal. Nobody becomes a tennis player to be able to win at the 16, 18 levels. You want to progress and be able to represent your country, be playing the Olympics, the Asian Games, being able to playing the Grand Slam. That's everyone's dream. So I think there were a lot of times that even I realized a prime example that I can give was Milos Raonic, who at 18, even 19, 20, after having a very decent junior career, not one of the best careers, even the professional circuit was still improving. His coaches were still working on him, on working on his serve, on working on hitting the first ball. So trying to improve on what he could as his strengths, which he didn't understand at that point of time. I remember him screaming at his coach playing a futures tournament in Korea, because his coach had said, no matter what, you are going to serve and volley this whole match, or you're going to hit your first ball this whole match. At that point of time, if you tell any player that, no, I don't care, you've traveled all this while, you're going to lose this match, I don't care, but this is what you're going to do. So you have to find a balance, which I think a lot of the kids at that point of time had done. And now we've seen how good he is, how good Raunic's serve is, how good his net game is, how good his first ball is. But when he was 20 years old, nobody would have seen that breakthrough coming in where he suddenly made a fourth round. So coming back to the point, I think it's important to not just obviously try and improve your current levels where you're at, but also to have a bigger picture and to keep working on small aspects of your game to keep improving. Whether it is trying to hit the ball harder, whether it is making sure you can move better, working at your net game, working your slice. I think during practices, during sometimes matches or points, you can always keep adding to your game.
Yes, absolutely. Even after becoming world number one, you still have to find ways to improve yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we saw Federer. When he came back in 2018, who thought he's going to improve, but we saw how hard he suddenly started hitting his backhand.
Absolutely.
Everybody lost his back. That is a person who's already won 17, 18 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
So,
totally. You're talking about the serve. In your game, for us, when we're watching from outside, this is what we know. We're not connected to you. We're not you. We felt that your serve could have been a bigger weapon than what it is. Whereas your return of serves is world class. Now, if you could have done something early on, what do you think you could have done about the serve? Or is there anything that you could have done?
I don't know. In fact, because I worked a lot on myself. I had worked a lot, even in my junior days, changed action, changed, feet movements, obviously tried to increase power, trying to increase placement. I don't think it's ever been a weakness as such, but it's obviously I'm not serving at 220, 230 kilometers an hour and I'm getting 20 aces a match, where someone like a Nick Kyrgios does, or John Isner. But that's so it's something that I've always worked on. It's something, in fact, I changed as well. I changed myself a little bit in the middle, right before going to French Open 2018. Who would have thought that after having such good success, I changed in the middle, because I've always been, and that's something that I've always done with all my tennis, is that if I have identified an area that I could work on, I've always tried to work on it. So it's something that I've all throughout my years worked on it. Obviously, I guess I haven't found as much success as I would have liked to change. So there's, even going back, I don't know what more different I could do in terms of whether I could get, I guess you could say, a lot more free points and serve. I think I've been able to manage that by improving my ground stroke game, which in turn, I guess, doesn't affect my serve. I just have to work a little bit more harder. So no aces, but maybe hitting a few extra forehand winners.
No, this is just something we are throwing out, and you know how it is when people throw these things out. Or he could do this better. He could do that better.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's something that I have worked on. In fact, it's not something I woke up suddenly, but it's been something I've been working on 14, 15,
right.
As well, all throughout my years.
Yeah, and
improve.
Also, and you have other strengths there. Your movements, the way you move in and play the balls early, your tactics, and like your coach says, you know how to win. So you know these are qualities which are even more difficult, and I'm sure with what you have, you can go really deep. You know. And,
thank you.
Yeah. Just a couple of questions, and then we'll wind up. Can you recall when you played your best tennis? Like you just felt that you were there, zoning in.
Different during different phases, different times. But what was most common in doing all that times, whether it was making the quarterfinals of Washington, beating Monfils, or qualifying, winning rounds at Indian Wells, or even further going back, to winning a Challenger or winning a Junior Australian Open. To all those times, there's one thing that was definitely there was the confidence.
Right.
That I was confident about my game and confident about how I was playing. Okay. And I've always felt that confidence has come from how I've prepared going into tournaments. I think how good my preparation has been in training, that has resulted in me being confident. So if I know that I have put in an amount of work, or I've changed something in my game and that is successful, I'm more confident going into it. So I think it all comes for me. It all came down to practice and how hard I had worked all that time throughout the period. That's why I always felt that my start of the season would always usually be good. So in January, February, that was a great start, is because I had the time to prepare. Right. In December, when we had the off season, to really be able to work hard on my fitness, on my ground strokes, to be able to hit a lot of balls. Right. So for me, it was really coming down to confidence, which in turn is coming down to preparation. So it started back to how I would practice, how I would play my sets, how I would work hard. If I knew I was feeling fit, I was playing well, I was middling my ball well, that in turn led to confidence. That is what it has always been, is where I've had my best moments.
Okay, fantastic. And can you talk a little bit about how you prepare mentally for matches, before matches?
So one thing that I've always tried is to gather as much information as I can on an opponent.
Okay.
That is something done all throughout my junior years. Ask friends or ask different coaches. There are always people who've played them. Now I think it's a lot easier to see on video. You can always find a match or something on video. So I've had a whole note full of pads of books of different players, of how they play, or if I've played them, to write down. That was something that would go sort of in my mental preparation, is to be clear of what I was going to do in a match, is to focus on what I could do, what I always have a plan A or a plan B, to be able to, what I could implement in the match, if this could work, if that could work. So that was something of a little bit of how my preparation towards an opponent or towards a match would go. And if I didn't know anything about it, then I would take the first couple of games to try and figure out and try and test things. To test things out, because those are the initial periods when you're not in danger, you're not getting out a big lead. So play your own game. So there's all these fixed things in my head. Play your own game. Focus on what you can do, but also observe what the opponent likes, what he doesn't like. So it's those are sort of the thoughts that I always had heading towards a match.
Because as you go higher up, you're going to be playing the same players over and over again several times in the year. So for that, do you maintain some kind of some data or diary or something?
Absolutely. So I do. I always have. Every player that I have played against, there are always notes that I've written down.
Okay.
There's notes written down, that there are pointers made, or you have different wheel. That's what I said. And if I haven't played now, especially at a higher level, you can find a lot of the players online, and you'll be surprised that even at the highest level, there are still weak points that one can that one can attack. It's not as blatant a show that a person has a weak backhand or a weak forehand, but there are still areas where you can hurt an opponent even at the highest stage. So that's something that I recommend, I think, to all the coaches, all the players, and it takes 5 minutes of your time when you play someone at whatever level you write down the things about the opponent and what you think worked and what you didn't work. It also, in fact, also helps you analyze your own game, because it helps you realize what you did or what you could have done better in turn. It works both ways, and it's fresh in your memory. So after the match, once you've done, just take 5 minutes and write down. You never know who you might play again later on. And that's happened so many times. I saw so many of my friends play at 14, 15, Bernard Tomic, Ryan Harrison, some of the guys who've done very well, Philip Granovich, and I saw them on, later on stages at 20, 25, and a lot of them still had similar game styles. So it's something that one could easily add, and you don't need a coach or anyone to help you with it. You just need to write down your thoughts and what you felt worked and didn't work against the player.
Yeah. And your experience when you're playing, which is so much more important. There's only so much you can see from outside. It's different perspective. It is necessary. But your experience as a player when you're playing is very, very important.
And you'll always see things. But so it's a good way just to analyze how things are.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Yuki. That was really, it's a revelation. And
thank you.
Really, I'm happy that you're forthcoming with all this information, and I'm sure if the coaches are listening and taking notes, I'm sure this will be on YouTube as well. So you can go back and listen to whatever he was saying. There's so much truth in what he said. And we grope around in the dark, and then sometimes some people come around, just throw a few words. It makes so much sense. This is one of those instances.
Suresh, can I ask some question of Yuki?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Yuki, क्योंकि हमारे काफी व्यूअर्स हिंदी के भी हैं।
जी सर।
आप हिंदी बोल सकते हैं, मुझे इतना पता है कि बहुत अच्छी हिंदी बोल सकते हैं, और रोज ही मेरे को मैसेज आते हैं, सर थोड़ा हिंदी में ही बात कर लें।
जी सर, बिल्कुल।
आप और हम थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि मैंने आपको जब से आपने टेनिस का रैकेट पकड़ा, जब से देखा है, और आपकी ट्रांजैक्शन सारी मैंने आपकी देखी भी है कि कहाँ से जूनियर से प्लेयर आप अच्छे सीनियर प्लेयर बने। ये ट्रांजैक्शन जो आपकी थी, जो जूनियर से सीनियर में आए, उस टाइम पर आपकी बॉडी बहुत वीक थी, मैं समझता हूँ उस टाइम पर, और आप काफी वीक थे। वहां जब आपने अपने टेनिस की लय में लाने के लिए, यानी कि आपने एक अच्छा मूवमेंट थे, कई सारे कोच जो आपके शुरू से, मैं कहता हूँ कि जब आप 5 साल के थे या 4 साल के शुरू करी थी टेनिस आपने, और उसके बाद तक सब कोचेस आपके जो लगे रहे, स्टार्टेड विद द शेखर मैनन एंड यू स्टार्टेड विद द Aditya Sachdev, and this PLT used to come sometimes with us.
Yes.
We know the whole your family. तो वो ट्रांजैक्शन जो थी आपकी कोचिंग के बेनिफिट्स जो आपने लिए उस टाइम पर, आई नो फ्रॉम द बॉर्न आई कैन सी, जब मैंने आपको देखा था तब से आपका फोकस जो है एक सबसे बड़ी आपकी स्ट्रेंथ थी, और मैं समझता हूँ तुमसे बड़ा कोई प्लेयर नहीं जिसकी स्ट्रेंथ इस प्रकार की हो, जो मैंने आज तक अभी तक देखा नहीं आपका फोकस कभी भी कहीं गिरा हो। यानी कि शायद इस बारे में बहुत कम लोग जानते होंगे कि युकी की जो फोकस है वो पैदाइशी है। वो कई बार बोलते हैं ना हम लोग कि आपको कई विरासत में मिली, तो वो आपके पास थी, और उसके साथ आपने कौन से कोचेस से ट्रांजैक्शन आपकी हुई है, वो उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताएं, तो क्योंकि काफी कोचेस इस टाइम देख रहे होंगे और उसके बारे में जानना चाहते होंगे।
जी सर, जैसा आपने कहा, मैंने स्टार्ट जब आई थिंक 5 या 6 साल की उम्र में रैकेट पकड़ा होगा पहली बार, तो 4-5 साल ऑब्वियसली शांति स्पोर्ट्स क्लब था तब, शेखर मैन के पास कोचिंग स्टार्ट करी, और उसी टाइम ऑल्सो अराउंड दैट टाइम आप थे, AIT की एकेडमी थी, तो DLTA भी आता था खेलने के लिए, क्योंकि जब बहनें खेलती थी तो छुट्टी के दिन आता था। इनफैक्ट याद है को मंडे क्लब बंद होता था, तो मैं मंडे, क्योंकि खेलने का इतना शौक था, तो मैं मंडे भी आता था खेलने, DLTA जहाँ भी मौका मिलता था खेलता था। तो यही है सर, एक आई थिंक जब बढ़ रहे हैं 14 की उम्र, 12 की उम्र, 16 की उम्र, तो वो धीरे धीरे ही आता है। पहले फोकस जब था खेलना, तब तो टेक्निक पे था, गेम की अंडरस्टैंडिंग पे था। फोरहैंड बैकहैंड सर्व सब बेसिक्स ही लर्न करते हैं ये एक एज तक। फिर थोड़ा थोड़ा बाद में समझ आया कि हाँ फिटनेस भी है। जब मैच खेले थक गए दिल्ली की धूप में तो रियलाइज किया हाँ कि थोड़ा फिटनेस, तब छोटे तो स्किप कर जाते, टेनिस खेल के भाग जाते, पर थोड़ा थोड़ा टाइम से आई थिंक रियलाइजेशन आता है कि हाँ ये भी इम्पोर्टेंट है। तो आई थिंक मेरे को काफी जहाँ तक कह सकते हैं नॉलेज आया, आई थिंक वो मैचेस खेल के भी आया। अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऐसी बड़ी, जब बाकी प्लेयर्स को देखा क्या स्किल हैं कैसे हैं। जब छोटा था तो फिर ज्यादा स्ट्रेंथ नहीं, तो खाली बॉल को अंदर रखता था 4-4-5-5 फीट पीछे, तो वो नेचुरल था। लेकिन जब बड़े हुए एक बार किसी पूर्ण से खेले जिसने कोर्ट से हटा दिया, विनर मार के भगा, तो फिर देखा कि ये भी हो सकता है। तब रियलाइज भी नहीं किया कि हाँ बॉल मार सकते हैं। एक बार बैक इंजर्ड हुई टूर्नामेंट में, जूनियर टूर्नामेंट, वहाँ बॉल मारने चुके विनर पड़ने लग गए। तो ऐसे ऐसे आई थिंक थोड़े थोड़े एग्जाम्पल्स हैं कि जहाँ तुम्हें रियलाइजेशन होना चाहिए कि हाँ तुम ये कर सकते हो, और थोड़ा ओपन माइंड होना चाहिए कि हाँ इम्प्रूव कर सकते हो। तो जब मेंस की तरफ बढ़े 18 में तो फिजिकल पे थोड़ा ज्यादा ध्यान दिया, क्योंकि लगा कि हाँ पावर गेम है, सर्व जोर से मारनी है, ग्राउंड स्ट्रोक, बॉल तो सब अंदर रख सकते हैं एक लेवल के बाद। आई थिंक वो थोड़े थोड़े इम्प्रूवमेंट थोड़े टाइम में आई, देख के आई, सीख के आई, मैचेस खेल के आई। तो ऐसे ही छोटे गोल रख के, ऑफ कोर्स सब ध्यान देते हैं कि जीतना है, रैंकिंग है, पर साथ में थोड़ा बड़ा गोल, लॉन्ग टर्म गोल, 6 महीने का गोल, साल भर का गोल, आई थिंक उसको माइंड में रखते हुए इम्प्रूव करना बहुत जरूरी है।
आई थिंक ये आपने जो मैसेज ये दिया जो कि आपकी जो टेनिस है, एक एज जब जूनियर खेल रहे होते हैं तो आपको उस टाइम किस पे वर्कआउट करना होता है, जब आप मेंस में ट्रांजिट करते हो तो वो एक समय जो होता है आपकी स्ट्रेंथ पावर जिसे हम कहते हैं, या आपकी फोकस, या आपका गेम प्लान और प्रिपरेशन, जैसे आपने कहा कि 6 महीने का प्लान करते हैं, तो उस पर थोड़ा सा प्रकाश डालें कि वो जो पीरियड था जूनियर टू मेंस में घुसने का, वो आपके लिए पता है मेरे को कि बहुत मुश्किल का टाइम होता है और आपको हर मैच में हारना ही होता है ऑलमोस्ट। तो वो जो आपने कैसे पेशेंस रख करके और कैसे आपने उसको बढ़ाने की कोशिश की थी वहां पर, क्योंकि ये व्यूअर्स जितने मैक्सिमम जो बच्चे आप देख रहे होंगे या उसके कोच देख रहे होंगे वो समझेंगे इस चीज को कि वहां पर कितना मुश्किल होता है आगे बढ़ने के लिए।
तो सर जब एक बहुत बड़ी डिफरेंस जो मैंने करी थी, आई डोंट नो अब वो लोग करते हैं या खाली मैंने करी है, लोगों को करनी पड़ी थी, इसकी जब जूनियर्स खेला था तो उस समय जब मैं मैच खेलने आया था, ट्रेनिंग तो अलग ही है, पर जब टूर्नामेंट खेलने गए हो, तुम बाहर गए हो, या तो मैं खाली मैच खेलता था और मे भी थोड़ी सी बहुत प्रैक्टिस होती थी, कुछ काम करना होता तो उस पर करता था। जब मेंस में आए और देखा कि टाइम ऑब्वियसली कम है, तुम टेनिस एक छोटा करियर ही है, तुम मेंस में खेलोगे 10-12-13 साल, तो इतना टाइम वेस्ट नहीं कर जाते। और समथिंग मैं रियलाइज किया कि मैं हाँ मे भी फिटनेस में थोड़ा सा पीछे हूँ, ज्यादा स्ट्रांग नहीं हूँ। स्ट्रेंथ लाने के लिए एक चीज जो मैंने करी है कि मैं हर रोज मैचेस के बाद ट्रेनिंग करता था। पहले ये दिमाग में था कि ये बहुत बड़ा चेंज आई थिंक जो मेरे साथ हुआ है और इम्प्रूव करा है। मैं सोचा कि हाँ अगर तुम ट्रेनिंग, ये दिमाग में था कि अगर तुम ट्रेनिंग करोगे, फिटनेस करोगे, तो तुम अगले दिन थक जाओगे, तुम अगले दिन मैच के लिए फ्रेश नहीं होगे, चाहे तुमने लंबा मैच खेला, छोटा मैच खेला। तो ये चीज, और जो हुआ भी एक्चुअल में, स्टार्टिंग में ऐसा हुआ भी, लंबे में अगर मैच खेले, थोड़ी बहुत फिटनेस करी, तो एक ऐसा टाइम आया था एंड टूर्नामेंट के एंड में कि तुम्हें थकान ज्यादा थी, पर ये लंबे समय के लिए काफी फायदा हुआ है। 6-7-8 महीने जब हैबिट बननी शुरू हो गई कि क्योंकि जब तुमने मैच खेले, फिर थोड़ी बहुत ट्रेनिंग करी, फिर मैच खेले, तो ये हैबिट सी बन गई। क्योंकि ये लगता था मेरे को कि हम ट्रेनिंग में तो ज्यादा मेहनत करते ही हैं, ना बैठने को मिलता है, पानी कम पीते हैं, 2-2 घंटे खेलते रहते हैं। और इनफैक्ट होना ऐसे ही चाहिए कि प्रैक्टिस ज्यादा मुश्किल होनी चाहिए मैचेस से। पर एक मेरे टाइम था कि हाँ मेरे को मैच में ज्यादा एनर्जी बर्न, तो ये मैंने चीज जो करी थी कि मैं फिटनेस करता गया अपनी 1-1.5 साल, और जब तक वो हैबिट नहीं बनी, फिर एक अब लेवल ऐसे आ गया है कि वो ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता, तो तुम उस वक्त बॉडी मेंटेन कर सकते हो। क्योंकि जब तुम आओगे तो 20-25 हफ्ते 30 हफ्ते अगर तुम टूर्नामेंट्स खेलोगे और ट्रेनिंग नहीं होगी, तो बॉडी ऑटोमेटिकली डाउन होगी। तुम्हें टाइम तो 1 महीना 2 महीना ही मिलता है, या मैचेस के बीच में 2-3 हफ्ते ही मिलते हैं। तो एक ये आई थिंक सलाह है, अगर लोगों को नहीं पता या पता है कि ट्रेनिंग करना जरूरी है, चाहे थोड़ी सी भी हो, चाहे अपनी रिहैबिलिटेशन एक्सरसाइज हो, किसी का एंकल मुड़ा हुआ है या किसी की बैक स्ट्रांग नहीं है, तो थोड़ी एक्सरसाइजेस आई थिंक इम्पोर्टेंट हैं जो सब करते रहे, और लॉन्ग टर्म में बहुत बड़ा फायदा होता है। ये
मैं इसी क्वेश्चन आ रहा था आपके पास कि क्योंकि आपकी बॉडी जो थी एक बड़ी लीन और थिन बॉडी थी शुरू से ही, और आपको मुझे इतना पता है बचपन से काफी इंजरीज होती थी, जो आपने भी प्रकाश डाला थोड़ा सा कि लगे रहना पड़ता है। सो आप थोड़ा सा ये बताएं कि जब आपकी जब इंजरीज होती थी और उसके बावजूद आप ट्रेनिंग करते थे या कोर्ट्स पे खेलते थे, वो जो पीरियड होता था उसमें आप कैसे मेंटेन करते थे और कैसे आप चाहोगे कि अपने जो आज आने वाले प्लेयर हैं या कोचेस हैं उनको थोड़ी नॉलेज मिले कि वो इंजरी आपकी है और आप उसके साथ खेल भी रहे हैं, और कब तक खेल रहे हैं, किस लेवल पे खेल रहे हैं, ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है। क्योंकि कई बार ऐसी इंजरी होती है कि आपको नहीं खेलना चाहिए, या कोई ऐसी इंजरी होती है जिसमें आपको खेल सकते हैं, किसमें ऐसी इंजरी होती है खाली आप खेल नहीं सकते, फिटनेस कर सकते हैं। सो वो थोड़ा सा बार बताएं तो उसका थोड़ा सा बेनिफिट सबको मिलेगा।
जी सर, एक वो आई थिंक प्रायोरिटी होती है, जैसे मेरे नी में लगी थी लेकिन ग्रैंड स्लैम आया था तो सोचा कि हाँ ग्रैंड स्लैम खेल के फिर मे बी आराम कर सकते हैं या रेस्ट ले सकते हैं। बट हाँ इनफैक्ट ये चीज काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम एक ही बॉडी पार्ट इंजर्ड होता है। कभी हमारा लेग, अगर लेग इंजर्ड है या हैंड इंजर्ड, तुम फिर भी बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो। क्योंकि मेरा नी इंजर्ड था तो मैं बैठ के मेरे इंजेक्शन लगे तो मैं बैठ के बॉल मार रहा था ताकि फील बने रहे। एक टाइम जब मैं 3 साल पहले टेनिस एल्बो था तो मैंने फिटनेस नहीं छोड़ी थी, मैं रनिंग फिर भी करता था, लेग्स की एक्सरसाइज फिर भी करता था, क्योंकि टेनिस एक ऐसा स्पोर्ट है जिसमें फुल बॉडी यूटिलाइज करनी है। ये रनिंग की तरह नहीं है कि मे बी शायद लोअर बॉडी ज्यादा चाहिए, या स्किल स्पोर्ट हो मे क्रिकेट की तरह जहाँ पे हैंड आई कोऑर्डिनेशन ज्यादा चाहिए। टेनिस में सब कुछ चाहिए, तुम्हें हैंड आई कोऑर्डिनेशन भी चाहिए, तुम्हें फास्ट भी होना पड़ेगा, तुम्हें स्ट्रांग भी होना पड़ेगा, और तुम्हारी एंड्योरेंस भी अच्छी होनी चाहिए। तो ये, और दिन में 24 घंटे तुम 5, 6, 7 घंटे ही ट्रेनिंग कर सकते हो, सब कुछ तो एक दिन में वैसे भी नहीं सकता। तो ये मेरे को एक जहाँ तक मैंने फायदा ये भी उठाया कि अगर नी इंजर्ड थी तो अपर बॉडी की ट्रेनिंग करी। तो ये समथिंग आई थिंक एट हर टाइम पे कोई ना कोई एथलीट या कोई कोच करा सकता है स्टूडेंट को, कि वो जरूरी नहीं कि घर ही बैठना है और उसी चीज पे काम करना है। हमारे बहुत कुछ है जहाँ पे इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं और हर टाइम पे इम्प्रूव करना है। तो शोल्डर्स इम्प्रूव करने हैं, फिट लेग्स इम्प्रूव करने हैं, बॉल की फील इम्प्रूव करनी है, किसी की रिस्ट में दर्द हो, लेफ्ट की रिस्ट में दर्द हो, राइट की, वो स्लाइस इम्प्रूव कर सकता है। आई थिंक काफी लोग वे भूल जाते हैं कि इतने सारे स्ट्रोक्स हैं, इतने सारे एक्सरसाइजेस हैं कि हम दूसरी चीजें भी इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं। क्यों हमें वेस्ट करना है? जब वापस फिट आए तो स्लाइस पे इम्प्रूव करें, या वॉली पे इम्प्रूव करें, सर्व पे इम्प्रूव करें, या फोरहैंड पे इम्प्रूव करें, या अपनी फिट ग्राउंड स्ट्रोक कुछ भी हो, तो वो टाइम यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं अपने आप को और बेटर करने के लिए और स्ट्रॉन्गर करने के लिए। दैट ये समथिंग सीखा था मैंने अपनी इंजरीज से, कि रुकना नहीं है और करना है।
बहुत सही कहा तुमने, क्योंकि ये बातें बहुत कम समझ आती है लोगों को कि किस प्रकार से जब आपके कुछ इंजरी है तो पर्टिकुलर उसके लिए नहीं करके आप दूसरी क्या चीज कर सकते हैं। दैट इज अ वेरी गुड पॉइंट। एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन मेरा युकी, जो बिहाइंड द स्क्रीन होगा,
जी सर,
लोग इसके बारे में जानते भी होंगे, कुछ लोग नहीं जानते होंगे, कि आपके पेरेंट्स की इन्वॉल्वमेंट बहुत अच्छी थी इसमें। और मैं समझता हूँ मैंने कभी नहीं देखा कि उनकी टेक्निकल इन्वॉल्वमेंट कहीं पर भी थी। कोर्ट्स पे कभी नहीं, वो कोच के ऊपर बिलीव करते थे हमेशा, और आपकी डाइट के ऊपर पूरा ध्यान रखते थे। आपके पेरेंट्स, जो मदर स्पेशली, बराबर के हाथ में रखते थे, टिफिन के संग में रखते थे, मम्मी अभी तक याद है वो सब चीजें। और कभी भी मैंने नहीं समझा कि आपके टेक्निकल उसमें कभी वो घुसे हुए। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ी आपकी उपलब्धि थी, क्योंकि आपका बिलीव और आपके पेरेंट्स का बिलीव कोचों के ऊपर था। ये एक बहुत बड़ी चीज थी। और मैं समझता हूँ कि आज जो पेरेंट्स मूव भी करते हैं या कोच संग मूव करते हैं, इस बात को समझे कि अगर टेक्निकल नॉलेज जिसको होती है उसके बारे में ही बात करें तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहता है। आपके विचार क्या है इस बारे में?
सर उस टाइम पे यूट्यूब नहीं था, सोशल मीडिया नहीं था तो हर कोई कोच नहीं बन सकता था। तो मेरे पेरेंट्स जो बोलते थे, वो जो कोच बोलता है उसी को रिपीट करते थे। अगर उन्होंने सुन लिया कि कोच ने कहा कि तुम सर्व पे जंप नहीं कर रहे, तो दिमाग में वही बात रिपीट करते कि जंप करो। पर हाँ, उन्हें कभी टेक्निकल एडवाइस नहीं दी। उनको पता था कि नहीं पता, वो भी वैसे ही सीखे जैसे हम सीखे। किसी को स्पोर्ट में कोई पहले खेला नहीं, करा नहीं, तो कोचेस एक वो है, एक ऑब्वियसली इंपॉर्टेंट है। और आई गेस लकी भी रह गए कि जब जिन कोचेस के साथ काम किया है, शेखर मेनन, आप हो, डीएलटी में अरुण सर, राजेंद्र सर, एस देवा, जिनसे करा है, तो बेनिफिशियल रहा है। तो एक वो भरोसा ऑफ कोर्स चाहिए कोच पे। जैसे स्कूल जाते हैं तो टीचर पे भरोसा करते हैं, पेरेंट्स तो जाते नहीं है क्लासरूम में बताने के लिए टीचर्स को कि ऐसे सब्जेक्ट ऐसे पढ़ना है और मल्टीप्लाई ऐसे करना है या ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट, जो टीचर्स कहते हैं वही सूट करता है. इट्स द सेम वे टेनिस में भी. तो कोचेस को आइडेंटिफाई करिए जो आपको हेल्प कर सकता है और फिर भरोसा रखिए कि वो इम्प्रूव कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि एंड ऑफ द डे प्लेयर नहीं सीखना, प्लेयर नहीं करना है, कोई आपको करा नहीं सकता. अगर जो आप करना चाहेंगे वही करेंगे तो और जो हैं स्पोर्ट में वो बहुत साल से हैं, एक्सपीरियंस्ड है, इसी वजह से हम उनके पास जाते हैं. तो आई थिंक वो वही है कि आइडेंटिफाई करिए, और जब आइडेंटिफाई कर चुके हैं कि आप किस कोच के साथ काम करना चाहते हैं, कौन सी अकेडमी में करना चाहते हैं, तो फिर भरोसा रखिए उन पे.
थैंक यू सुकी, आपने बड़ा अच्छा जवाब दिए और आपने काफी लोगों को इस चीज की ज्ञान भी दिया होगा कि लोग इस बारे में समझे, क्योंकि हमारे पास स्ट्रेंथ भी काफी बड़ी है कोचों की इस टाइम पर. और इस टाइम जो पेरेंट्स हैं वो भी बहुत काम कर रहे हैं बच्चों के ऊपर. एज यू सेड कि यूट्यूब या किसी चीज आ गई है, उससे थोड़ा सा इन्फॉर्मेशन अच्छी मिल जाती है. तो पेरेंट्स ऑल्सो भी आजकल, मैं नहीं कहता हूँ कि उन्होंने कभी टेक्निकल गलत क्यों कर रहे हैं, बट द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ पेरेंट्स एंड द कोच इज गोइंग टू बी वर्क वेरी हाई वे. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरा मकसद ये था कि पेरेंट्स को भी नहीं समझे इस बारे में. पेरेंट्स का रोल बहुत बड़ा है, एज वी नो कि 80% और 70% ऑफ रोल ऑफ द पेरेंट्स ओनली, क्योंकि वही तैयार करते हैं और वही लेके आते हैं और वही लेके जाते हैं वापस, और आपकी सारी चीज का देखभाल करते हैं. थैंक यू यूकी, आपने बहुत अच्छे जवाब दिए और मैं समझता हूँ कि इससे काफी लोगों को फायदा भी मिलेगा.
कॉम्बिनेशन है सर एंड में. वैसे तो कहते हैं टेनिस एक इंडिविजुअल स्पोर्ट है, लेकिन पीछे पूरी टीम है. अगर पेरेंट्स नहीं होंगे तो बच्चा पुश नहीं करेंगे तो बच्चा खेलने नहीं आएगा, लेने आएगा. और अगर कोच अच्छा नहीं होगा, कोच सिखाएगा नहीं, तो पेरेंट चाइल्ड अच्छा नहीं होगा, फिर चाइल्ड को मोटिव. तो एक पूरी टीम लगती है, और ये साथ साथ जब तालमेल रहेगा तभी हो पाएगा, ये आगे पीछे नहीं होगा. तो इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हाँ बने रहे. सब चाहते हैं, ऑफ कोर्स पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चे के लिए बेटर चाहते हैं, लेकिन भरोसा भी करना चाहिए आई गेस समटाइम्स कोचेस पे.
इसलिए मैंने जो परसेंटेज दी है वो 70% पेरेंट्स को दी है जी. पेरेंट्स आर द मोर बिगर पिलर इन दिस करियर ऑफ एनी प्लेयर. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you, Narsingh. Thank you for the Hindi interaction. For many of the coaches are asking for it. Thank you, Yuki, for taking your time and being here with us. And we hope that you will make it to the top very, very soon.
Thank you, sir.
And we hope that you'll never get injured ever again.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you, and happy to give my time.
Yeah. Thank you, Yuki.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye, Narsingh.
Bye.
Himanshu, can you bring in Balachandran Manikkath? Balachandran. So we're going into the main aspect of today's webinar. We're going to be talking about, like I said, the most important skill for a tennis coach. It's communication. Every coach in the world understands, or the best coaches in the world, when you ask them what's the most important skill for a tennis coach, they will say communication. So I urge all of you to pay a lot of attention to my very close and dear friend, Balachandran. We go a very, very long way back. He's the place I work in. He's an alumni of that college. It's a very reputed college. It's the Anna University. He's an engineering graduate there. And then he went on to become a coach. And then he has achieved so much as a coach. Right now, he is the coach for Prajnesh Guneswaran, the number 1 or number 2 player. I don't know what the present ranking right now, but he's up there, the Davis Cup player. And he's also the coach for a lot of top players right now. Jeevan Nedincheri, Vishnu Vardhan, Balaji. The list doesn't end. And he's also helped a lot of junior players grow into, very good players. He's been with as a tutor with the coaches education program since the year 2000, which is like 2 decades now. He's got immense experience. He's traveled with teams, Indian teams, Asian teams. Now, I take great pleasure in welcoming Balachandran. Balachandran, over to you.
Hi, Suresh. Is the audio clear, Suresh?
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Suresh. Thanks for that great introduction. And good morning, namaste to all the attendees and panelists today. Before I start, let me thank Sports Authority of India and All India Tennis Association for this initiative and giving me an opportunity to speak to all of you. And as you all know, today's topic we going to talk about is about communication and communication for coaches especially. It's a big challenge, but the most important aspect. For me, as we speak about challenges, right now, the biggest challenge for me is normally when we make presentations, you always have somebody listening to you. There is some interaction. Today, I'm seeing only my face on the screen. So it's a bit of a challenge for me. And before I continue, on my behalf, let me wish Yuki all the very best for the coming season. I'm happy to know he's fully fit. India Tennis is looking up with Yuki, Prajnesh, Sumit, Ramkumar, Mukund, all of them there. And I'm sure a healthy competition will help us produce more players and motivate more juniors coming in. Yeah, we're talking about communication. Yesterday, Nandan introduced me, and he said he has seen me as a 20, 21-year-old coming into coaching. Yes, thanks to Nandan, I came into coaching. And when you're young and just out of college, you have a different mindset. And it was I was fortunate that I could work under such an experienced and senior coach like Nandan to start with. So thanks, Nandan, for the opportunity. Talking about communication, yes, I mean, he's very good at it. He's really good at it. So I have learned my initial coaching and all the other related things, including communication from him. There are days when I used to wonder how he could speak like that. He's talking to a parent, and he's talking to kids, and he's talking to an official. And for me, those days, it was a big surprise. And I'm sure Nandan has been surprised by some of my communication skills, wondering, is this
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. I think Balu is having some technical issues. He will be back as soon as he can, I'm sure. Yesterday, when Nandan was introducing Balu, he mentioned that Balu is very good at communication, and I couldn't help but start smiling because it's such a true statement. And we all our friends who played tennis during that time, we kind of know this skill about Balu, and yeah, and it's the right person to talk about this subject. Let me try calling him on the phone to see what's wrong. Maybe he's not realized that he's not online. Okay, in the meantime, till he joins, I will try to call him. In the meantime, I can start answering some questions to keep you entertained. First, let me try calling him. If he has some technical issues, then. I don't think he's realized that. Well, I think we just have to wait. So, if you have any questions about anything that we had yesterday, or if you want to ask something new about today's interaction, you can ask me some questions. Oh, there have been a lot of questions about. Okay, I'm so sorry that I didn't notice this. The next time we have a celebrity on the panel, I would look into this to take your questions and I will ask him those questions. So I would select and choose. We'll see the time that we have with the celebrity or with the player that we have, and then I think Balu is back. Yes, Balu, on to you. Over to you, Balu.
Yeah, Suresh, sorry, I think it was some Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah, no issues. We can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, fine. I hope it stays on till we finish. I was just trying to share the screen and then we lost it. So, okay. We're talking about communication skills in detail today. I just changed it a little bit. Yeah. So, what is actually communication? I mean, unfortunately, there's no interaction, but anyway, I'll ask the question and I will answer it myself. Like the reason I used these couple of pictures is we're talking about, what is communication? Communication is basically like a rally, right? I mean, you're sending some messages, you're receiving some messages, and for a coach, it's mostly between you and the player. So what you say has to be very clear and understood by the child. Similarly, when the child speaks to you, it has to be clear and you should be understand. So only then the communication is complete, because it goes forward from you and then it has to come back to you as well. Like for example, when you are suppose you are in Kanyakumari, I mean in the railway station, you hear an announcement, right? That will be in Tamil, but the announcement is clear for the people of that state, because that's the language they speak, so it's in Tamil. If you suppose you go to Guwahati, it's going to be in Assami, right? It's not going to be in Tamil again. Then whatever saying, to make sure the person who's listening is clear what is being said. Because many times, I mean, this is very common. Like the coach is very knowledgeable, very experienced. The coach knows a lot. But if he's not able to express it in a manner which the child or the player they're working with, whatever age group, is not able to understand. Because the speaker, when he speaks, he's talking with an idea that what he understands. But doesn't mean the player or the listener also is coming from the same background or wavelength. So a lot of times the messages get lost in the process. So unless it is clear, the listener also gets what the speaker is putting across, it doesn't work out well. And that for a tennis coach is the most important thing, because we are dealing with not just a theoretical subject. We are dealing with a skill-based activity. So we need to make the player understand the activities you want them to be doing, but also help them do it. Because the player has to know what they have to do. They also have to know when they have to do, and then why, and also how. So all this is clear, only then the child is pretty much sure about what is going on. Okay, sorry, I was just looking at some of the chats. I thought there's something important coming in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's important that the child understands all these aspects. I mean, the photographs you see on your screen, I mean, the first one where I'm speaking on a dais, that was one of the most challenging moments for me very recently, because I was called to speak in a college in Kerala, in the districts, northern Kerala, it's in a district, a small place. And I was addressing a bunch of NCC cadets, and I was talking about a career in sports to them. So the challenging part was I had to speak in Malayalam. I mean, I'm a Malayali, but speaking on a podium versus having a conversation and knowing the language is totally different. Add to that, the language in that district, the slang is quite different from the slang I speak. I come from southern central Kerala. It was very challenging for me to make that presentation. I did have to work for it, and my wife was listening to it, and my wife said it went well. I mean, as you all know, if your wife compliments, I guess you have done a decent job. So that was one of the challenges. The other one, you see, the small kids. I mean, I go to Austria in the summer, and there are times when I have to work with these small kids who know just a couple of words in English. They know only German, and I don't know German. I also know only a couple of words, but you have to work with them. But it's possible. I mean, what the reason I'm talking about this is everybody can improve, everybody can develop. Like from the 21-year-old going to Pune to now, I've come a long way. And somebody like Nandan says I'm good at communication. I mean, I'll take it as a compliment, but also it has come from practice and having improved. So it is for everyone who's listening in, however young or however old you are, there is scope for improvement. You can improve every single day. And but provided you work for it. I mean, I'm still improving. I mean, I can still do a lot of things better. There are some occasions where I felt I haven't handled it well, and I've seen other coaches who handled it beautifully, and I feel I can learn from them. So moving on, what is the real purpose of a communication? I mean, what is the content? When you communicate, or when you're talking about communication, you're doing it to convey an information. Like, for example, if you're coaching, you have to pass on to the child what they're going to do, be it a fun game, be it a very technical aspect, or you're explaining a tactical aspect, or you're working on some fitness element. You still need to convey that information very clearly in a manner which the child will understand. Also, you use a lot of times you come in, most of the men for coaching, most of the times the communication involves motivation, right? I mean, guiding and motivation. You can motivate the child while they play. You can give them feedback as they are learning. You can motivate them during matches, because you can sit outside, though you can't coach, but you can still motivate them. You use motivation with most of the time what you do with children, right? You are encouraging them, you're saying good things, you're saying positive things, right? I mean, okay, sometimes you have to encourage the parents as well. Okay, that's another part. We'll come to that later. And then, what are the different forms of communication we have? You can communicate through visual, right? I mean, you can, put it on like what the cartoons do. Like children watch that and they really, like it. Children like visual things. So a lot of times you do visual. So when you're working with children, you are encouraged to do a lot of demonstration, a lot of activity, because children like to see and also do. So they are not too big into listening and learning. Like for example, now, I mean, usually communication, then so far I have spoken about it, it's always been with an interaction, and it's been, with people listening to me, and we're talking and interacting, and there's few things coming. But today, it's pretty one-sided. You're seeing only my face, right? So the only visual part is the slides or the photographs on the slide. Another form of communicating is audio, which all of us are good at, right? We all speak, we all know how to speak, we speak in different languages. Then the third one is, like, sometimes you communicate through, like, for example, when you're teaching, and I'll stick to the teaching part, I mean, you will help the child learn the swing, right? You will hold the arm, you will help it, or you will help them with the toss, right? So three ways of communicating. One is through visual, by actions, showing, and the other one is audio, voice, the hearing, and then the action part, the kinesthetic part, where they do. And for coaches, it is also important to know that children, how children learn, because every child need not learn the same way. Their ability to understand can vary. Some will be a little quick, some will take time to learn. So you as a coach need to find out or figure out how they learn. And they say, the research says that visually they learn faster, much faster. It's like almost 80-85% of their learning happens visually. So when you teach, that's why the demonstration aspect becomes very important. Yes, it's not just one part. I mean, you follow it up with your what you're saying to complement the action you're showing, and sometimes you'll also show help them with their movement as well. So it's a combination of all three. But if you can understand what the child prefers, or which this is the method which the child understands faster or easier, then the teaching becomes so much easier. Then what we spoke about earlier, what you're trying to communicate or what you're trying to say reaches the child a lot easier for the child to understand and try to execute. Because in tennis, there are two things. One, understand what to do, and then they have to do it. I mean, which is not easy. Everybody doesn't do it that same speed, or the skill required can vary. So that's a challenge in tennis. So unless they're very clear what they have to do, their level of execution will get affected. So that's the most important thing for coaches. So try to find out about the child, how they understand, and what's the best form you can use to get across to them what what you want to say. Because like, for example, the other day on a chat, somebody asked me how difficult is it to work with girls. And with girls, yes, like, with boys and girls is a difference. So, when you're interacting with girls and when you're working with girl players, how you communicate, how you talk, it's very different compared to boys. So some of the work with the girls, you will know. And that is something I learned from experience. Like, when working with a girl, I realized it didn't go well. And from there on, I realized that there was a difference. So you are learning every day. I think Yuki mentioned earlier, Aditya was learning alongside. So for coaches, it is vital that you learn. When you even with communication, it's an everyday thing. You can practice at home. You can practice while meeting, talking to a stranger. You can practice it on court. Off court. So many ways you can practice, and it's a skill. A good communicator is normally very successful. In all walks of life, in tennis especially. Okay, what are the types of communications? You can do we spoke about the verbal one, right? You talk. You can communicate by talking. A lot of times, we don't realize, but we also communicate by actions, right? They call it the non-verbal communication. Do you know? Can any of you say which is the most often used non-verbal communication? It's a smile, right? You smile, it says a lot. A smile says a lot. So as coaches, it's important to to smile, yes, but doesn't mean like, you remain like this, the whole day on the court. I mean, smile is a good gesture. When they come in, you smile. They keep, their children are comfortable. And so, talking about, the verbal communication. So you talk. I mean, when you speak, it's different ways. I mean, you can speak very authoritatively. You can speak politely. You can also be like, you can ask questions, and then okay, as we speak, I'm just taking in some questions as well, because this is relevant to what we are talking about. How can we communicate deaf players during training as well as in competition? Okay. Here we spoke about, we're talking about types of communication. So the non-verbal communication will be the most effective when we talk about communicating with hearing impaired people. There's a player talking about that. There's a player called Duckley. He's from South Korea and is ranked like 200 odd, and he is hearing and speech impaired. I mean, he's ranked 200 odd in the world. I mean, that's some ranking. I mean, for a tennis player, where the audio is so important. I mean, you need to hear the ball, hit by the opponent, or the ball hitting the opponent's strings and your strings. He is able to play, and he's able to play at a very good level without hearing the ball being hit. And he has a coach who communicates with him, and even plays doubles. I mean, so it is possible. So there are people who play tennis with hearing disability, and if it's not very extensive, they use hearing aid, and then they use hearing aid to assist their hearing. In India, we have a player with Suresh. I mean, he's played even the Olympics for the Special Olympics as well. So yeah, moving on. Yeah, we talk about the non-verbal communication here. I mean, the question came in at the right time. So with non-verbal communication, like simple things. I mean, when you're watching a match, I mean, you clap, right? I mean, that says that gives a lot of information to the player that you're encouraging. Similarly, when he misses a ball, and if you put your head down, I mean, he knows that you're disappointed, which actually again gives him a very uncomfortable feeling. So you can communicate a lot without even speaking a word. And for coaches, it's very important. I mean, when you're talking about non-verbal aspect of it, it's very important your appearance. How you conduct yourself, how you dress yourself, how you speak, how you behave, because you influence the children a lot. They're looking up to you, and whatever you do, especially at the age like 11, 12 to 17, 16, 17, very impressionable age. So coaches, you got to be careful how you speak, because without you realizing, children are learning from you. So how you, the way you walk, I mean, the way you speak, the way the gestures you use, everything is so important, because if you do something which is not appropriate, which can actually pass on to the child, and the child is taking it because the child doesn't know. The child thinks, okay, the coach is doing, so I can do. So you have to be very careful with with that part. Then how do you communicate effectively? I mean, like for example, when you are coaching, you need to make sure, you are the coach and you have a bunch of children, so you need to position yourself right. Only then they can see you, and everybody should be able to hear you. Suppose a small, a shorter kid, standing behind. I mean, he can't even see you. So you're going to, he's not going to listen, or he's not going to follow what you're saying. So you got to make sure that child is in front. So everybody is spread out. There's a lot of space on the tennis court, right? So you can make sure they're around. when you're addressing them, or you wanted to give them some, before you start an activity, you're going to explain to them, you need to be making sure that you position them well. And also when you speak, I mean, just make sure they are paying attention to you. Otherwise, you start the activity and half the children will not know what is going on. And when you are speaking, make sure there's no other disturbance. Like, there's another bunch of kids playing nearby and it's very noisy. Make sure you move to another place where it's quieter, and then you can pass it on. And okay, we start talking about how to communicate well, and types of communication and things. But you also need to know. Hold on. Okay, lost it. I don't know, something wrong. I'll start the screen again. I think something went wrong there. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to move on. I'll come back. I'm back to the same screen. Is anyone here who can help? Okay. Can start again. I think it's kind of stalled there. Okay, yeah, moving on. So we spoke about how you spoke about talking about all the right things to do, or how to do it well. You also need to know when what you're trying to say doesn't go too well, or the message is not passed on appropriately. So that's one of the things. One of the most important things there is sometimes the content itself will be wrong. Like it won't be appropriate. So if you simple example is you want to meet somebody at say 10 o'clock tomorrow, and then by mistake you said 9 o'clock, right? So that person will be there waiting for you from 9 o'clock, whereas you will reach only at 10. So the fact that what you said wasn't appropriate or correct can cause this communication to fail, or the message to not reach them the way you would like it to go. Same thing can happen. I mean, how many times, as coaches, I've heard coaches tell me, sir, I keep telling them, but they don't do. I'm sure parents will come and tell you, I keep telling the children, but they don't do. So yes, they have told what to do, but somewhere along the line, it's not reaching the child with the same level of importance what the coach or the parent is trying to pass on. So that is the issue there. So you need to be careful with the content. And also, we spoke earlier, I mean, if your communication skills aren't great, this can happen as well. So it's very important, as coaches, to improve your communication skills. So work on it. I mean, for some it is natural, for some it's a little bit of an effort, but no harm. I mean, you can always work, you can improve every day, and you can get better. This is not something very difficult to acquire. This is easily, everybody can develop, everybody can get better at it. And yeah, sometimes again with children, you're addressing them and they're not paying attention. That's another time when it gets, it doesn't reach them the way you want it to be. because they just not paid attention. And few occasions when you suppose it's a fun game and you explain with 10, 12 kids and you explain to them what to do and all that, and some of the children have not understood, and you have not given them an opportunity to ask, like they have a doubt, and you have not given them. You just explained the activity and said, okay, let's go, okay, let's start. So then again, when they start playing, and then you will get upset that I told you, but no, you're not listening, and things like. So you have to give them a chance to understand. You give them an opportunity to to ask back and things like. And then the many situations as a coach, you have to talk or deal with. Sometimes it's most of the times with players. And even with players, I mean, it can be a practice situation, it can be a fitness situation, it can be before the match. I mean, they're traveling somewhere. It can be after the match, and between players some issues. So many things and so many situations. You need to be clear what to how to handle it, and how to speak. And of course, parents. I mean, all of you know. We'll talk about this in detail, but I just want to touch on this and give you a brief so that you know what to expect. I mean, even if you're doing tournaments and things, you need to be speaking to the umpires and officials and sponsors and things like that. So there are different situations where again your communication skill is tested. So it's not just how well you communicate on the tennis court with players alone. Okay. The major two styles of communicating, which again for coaches it's vital. I mean, the reason I'm touching on this is because I mean people who have done the course, the foundation course, will know about it. So it's the command style, right? The direct, like military. You tell them, they do. I mean, there's no questions asked, right? I mean, you just instruct, and the children follow. And there's another style which they call it cooperative style. It is something where between you and the player, there is a consensus. You speak to them, you ask for their approval, and then a lot of times you are listening. So it's almost like when you're talking, when you use a cooperative style, you are like 50% you are speaking, 50% you will be listening. Because that's how it is. So the child also feels comfortable. So I mean, I'm sure by now you know for coach what is a better style to adapt. Okay, now we get into we spoke about a lot of things on communication, but we also need to know how to improve ourselves, right? I mean, otherwise, what's the point? I mean, we just talk about it and we leave it. So if I don't help you with how to improve, then it doesn't help. So first thing to improve, you need to practice. And what do you practice? And that's what we're going to cover now. So, you're going to you can practice like sending messages, just like talking and all those things, and receiving messages, which is listening. And all of you are familiar with talking and listening, but each one has a different style, right? I mean, I have a style. Suresh has a different style. Yuki had a different style. So you have to find out what you're comfortable with, what's easy for you, and be natural. You don't have to be somebody else. Like for example, Rajinikanth has a style. He's very popular. And Nana Patekar has another style, right? So, Rajinikanth cannot try to be a Nana Patekar, saying he was successful or vice versa. So it is important that you stick to your style. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I mean, I just stop in between because some questions come in. If it's relevant to what we are talking and if there's something to be addressed, I'll address it right away. Because there is some interaction then. Otherwise, it's quite challenging, believe me. I mean, I'm just looking at the screen and speaking. I mean, I'm not even sure if you can hear it, and I can't hear anything back. So it's a bit odd. it's anyway new experience, and COVID teaches you a lot of new things. So this is one of them. So yeah, coming back to how do you improve? Yeah, so be natural. I mean, take up something. I mean, you use what is natural and easy for you. You don't have to create something else. Somebody is very very flamboyant and extrovert. So another person is an introvert and quiet. So they cannot try to be the other person. I mean, you have to stick to what you're comfortable with. And you can try it out. And as you try it out, you will know what suits you best. And also, you can use whatever technique works for you. Because a lot of times coaches like to do a high five and then they smile or they come up with a joke and things like that. So whatever works for you. If there is if you're not, the humor is not your strength, then you need not try it, because then it looks pretty odd, right? I mean, the child will feel, what's wrong with this guy? I mean, what is he trying to say? And you know how smart children are these days, right? So if you make a so-called joke, which they don't find it funny, I mean, they're not going to think high of you or appreciate what you're saying. Then yes, I mean, you got to be caring, you got to be very empathetic, because that goes a long way. Because when you're trying to say something and you're really being okay. Yeah, I will touch on this question soon. I'll just when the topic comes up, I will certainly touch on that. Yeah. So yeah, being caring and being empathetic is very, very essential. And another aspect you have to pay attention to is whatever you're saying, you have to be consistent with all the players in your academy and all the time. Because otherwise, they're not going to appreciate what you say, or actually give weightage to what you say, because they'll say, today he'll say this, tomorrow he'll say something else, or they'll say, okay, with this kid he'll say, with the other kid he won't say this, he'll say something. So that is the problem. So you got to be very consistent, and believe me, if you're being natural and you have your own style which you're comfortable with, all these things actually fall in place. You be caring, you will be caring, because that's your personality, and everybody is very caring for children. That comes through. And then you will be consistent, because you're not today what did I say, yesterday what did I say. I mean, it's just you, right? I mean, it's just going to come out the way you want. And then when you're when you practicing this, on the screen you can see sending messages. It's about just speaking. So you can try different ways to speak, and you will use it in different occasions. I mean, when suppose there's a question of discipline in your academy, and a lot of times happens, small children, they get into fight. So that time you got to raise your voice a little bit, or so that you get their attention and they stop doing it. And those times you can't be soft. And obviously, when you're talking to the child next to you, you will be softer. And suppose child gets hurt, she or she runs and falls, so you're going to be talking in a different tone. And these are the things you need to practice. I mean, as we say, a lot of times you do it naturally, but if you pay attention to do it, you will do it in a much better fashion, which is which goes a long way in establishing a relationship between a player and the coach. And as you all know, I mean, that's a very, very important aspect, because the player has to respect the coach and believe that this coach will be there with me all the time. You spoke earlier about when you identify a coach and an academy where you have total trust. So they come with trust, but for us to ensure that trust remains, we have also to have our own commitments and duties to fulfill. Right. And receiving messages. I mean, a lot of times when we speak, we don't give enough attention to listening, especially with children on the court. We don't listen. We have to, take time and listen. So even if you're speaking, the child says something, I mean, if it's a very important thing you're trying to address, you can say, okay, hold on, let me finish this, and then you say. Or you're just trying to tell, and the child is saying something, please stop what you're saying and allow the child to speak. Because, I mean, again, you're dealing with young children, right? I mean, everybody is not working with 18, 19-year-olds and above. Most of us work with a lot of small kids. So when you're working with small kids, how you listen and how you take in what they say, which is so it's also important. Okay. I will elaborate a bit more on this verbal thing, because that's what you use most of the time, and how you can be effective while speaking. So the first thing is, any child which comes to you, I mean, you'll ask for the name, yes, but little later when the child is on a board, you got to remember the name, right? Because with 10 people, 20 people in your academy, you can't have you can't be saying hey, you, he, so you got to call them by names. So please make an effort to remember names as quickly as possible. Like the child walks in, meets you, goes to play, and half an hour later you're able to call out his or her name. I mean, the child is so thrilled. I mean, he or she has just come in and suddenly you remember her name, or his name, right? So please first learn the name. See, these are the things which you can improve upon. Normally we don't. I mean, children come join, and then after a few days, you will remember the name. But if you can, the sooner you pick it up, then it becomes a habit. So wherever you go, you meet someone, you remember names. I mean, you know how important when you see somebody later and you call them by name. I mean, children are so thrilled. I mean, I must say now, as I'm getting older, I mean, kids who, I've been in this for a long time. So some of the kids who I knew when they were like 13, 14 and not met for many years, now when I meet them and the face I can recognize, I can't remember the names, and I struggle. And I had to ask somebody. And some of the kids are understanding. They say, you saw me a long time ago, so you won't remember. I am so and so. And then, it strikes, and then I remember. So, but if I wish I could have such a memory that I don't forget any of the names of the kids I have worked with. So, that's names. So it's very, very important. And then when you're talking to them, keep it very simple and direct. You have you want a child, and you have a group of children, and you can say, okay, Ramesh, please go to the red cone. So it's clear. I mean, there's a red cone kept there, and Ramesh goes to the red cone, and he said, Divya, okay, you stay in this white cone. So these kind of messages are very, very clear. It's short, and it's also direct. So you can't be saying, okay, one of you stand there, okay, one of you will stand here, okay, you can go there. One kid asks, where do I go? You're not even looking and say, you go there. But then it becomes a mess. Because, when you're doing with a group of children, you know how important the organizational part of the activity is. And organizational challenges mostly can be resolved if your communication skills are good. It's as simple as that. Once you know what to do, and then you explain it well, and you create the activity where everybody knows what they're doing, then that activity goes on well. So your organization becomes fast, it's quick, and you don't waste time. And we spoke about the verbal and non-verbal, your gestures, and then you also speak. So when you make a gesture, or when you're speaking and then using a gesture, both have to be hand in hand, right? I mean, when you say like a great shot, I mean, so the emotion of excitement comes with the word. You cannot say a great shot. Yeah, it doesn't go well. So your connect with your expression versus what you're saying has to be hand in hand. So it's important. So these are things you can, you need to develop and practice. You can come up with your own expressions followed by the gestures. And another thing again with coaches, I learned the hard way, and I'm still improving upon, because we as coaches, we have the habit of always looking at the negative side of, that didn't go right, or this ball didn't go in, this technique is not right, or you lost the match. And we unfortunately have this habit of, I don't know, we are wired like that, or because we are coaches, we are trying to find something wrong so that we can improve upon. I don't know. But anyway, but if you can change the outlook and start looking at things from the positive side, even speaking, instead of saying don't do, or that is not right, or saying no, you always try to rephrase it. Let's do it this way. This particular ball you hit wasn't, didn't go in the court. And so saying you missed it. So it's like, you rephrase it like that. So sometimes, when they ask, was it good or bad? You can say, it was not so good. You can not say, oh, it was horrible, it was bad. You don't have to completely say, though you're being honest, but there is a certain way of putting it. And believe me, this is something I really worked on. I didn't know how to soften it, and I was quite straight and upfront. I've improved, but I still can improve. I still have a long way to go. People who know me, I think, understand what I am talking about. Yeah, so a positive approach, because when you're working with small kids, they need appreciation, encouragement. So any activity they do, we're trying to help them. And when 12, 13-year-olds play tournaments, the same thing, right? They're losing matches, or they come back, they're disappointed. These are the occasions when these kind of qualities to speak make a huge difference to the child. Once they're like 20 and above, it's different. Dealing with adults is a different ball game. I will talk a bit about it, and I will, as we progress, I'll talk more about talking to the pros and the senior players, which is also very interesting. Then most important, like we spoke earlier about, you need to ask the child if they've understood. So if you want to improve how well you can convey your messages across, after saying or giving them all the instructions or advice or suggestions, you need to ask them, okay, have you understood? You can ask one of them, okay, what is it that we are going to do now? So then it's clear, what you think, what you wanted to say is actually gone exactly the same way, and you meant is also taken by them. And then a very good way to, though you're talking, but a very good way to engage them or help them think for themselves is, again, they call it you can say it guided discovery. And I don't know how many are familiar with that word. Or it's like, effective questioning. You're asking them questions, you're not telling them, hit the ball in the court. Suppose they hit a ball in the net, you're not telling, hey, hit the ball in the net. You're going to ask them questions by which you get them to understand what they did versus what they need to do. Now, suppose the ball has gone in the net, you can actually, the first thing you can ask them is, did you notice what happened to that ball you hit? And the child was not clear. Then the next question you can ask is, do you think the ball went in the court or in the net, or it went out? So the child thinks and says, yeah, it went in the net. Then you can say, okay, are you okay with that? So the child obviously says, no, I don't. I want the ball to go in the court. So, so what do you think you can do? So by this form of talking to them, like asking questions, you actually help them understand what they need to do. And also, you're not going hard at them. You missed it and this. You're being, so they feel comfortable. So they also understand that making a mistake, right? When you learn something, mistake is part of the learning process. You learn through mistakes. So they also understand that, if I make a mistake, it's not a big thing that is going to, he or she, the coach, is going to sit on top of me and eat my brains. he's going to help me with it. And also it develops thinking. I mean, tennis, UK mentioned, like, he prepares, but sometimes he goes on court, and then, I mean, there are times when he has to go on court and then figure out what's going on. So the player has to develop that habit of figuring out what's going on in the court. And tennis is a mistake management sport. I mean, you will make mistakes. You cannot play a match without making a mistake. But when you make mistakes, or you're struggling with what the opponent is throwing at you, you need to find solutions. And there's nobody to help you. So at a very young age, from the child understands that, okay, I'm on court, and as I do this, I mean, as I pay attention to what is going on, and then, okay, I think like this, I can find solutions. You're actually helping them find solutions all the way, all the time. So you help them learn, and then as they do this more, I mean, with experience, they do it better. I mean, you will see that as you work with kids, and their involvement level is also very high, because it's not like, oh, do this. I mean, oh, you hit the ball in the net, hit over the net. I mean, like, imagine the child's position. What interest does the child have? But like, you talk to them and like, oh, my coach was actually, very keen to help me. The coach really wanted me to do better. So the child feels comfortable. The child has an interest to learn. So you can retain the child. I mean, the child will continue to play tennis all her or his life. So there's so many things you can do when you change the way you talk to them. So questioning and helping them understand. It's a very good, also when they, suppose you're teaching them serve, just an example, you can ask them, okay, try this out. And then as they try it out, you can say, are you comfortable with it? I mean, how do you feel? So it's like, so they net give you a response, okay, this. And this is useful, not only with young kids, at all level players, it's useful. Once you have this habit, you have always habit of asking them, you suggest something and you ask them. So they come back to you, and their feedback is so important for a coach. The player's feedback is so vital. At smaller age, my feedback will not be so much, but as they progress, the feedback is going to be, the feedback from the player is very, very important. So, I mean, one of the questions earlier Priti asked was, communicating children from beginner to advanced players. So, I mean, she asked with respect to, with a focus on tournaments. But for me, when they go from beginner to an advanced player, is they know more about the game now, about themselves, about the matches. So they will be ready to give you a lot of feedback. So you have to be asking them questions so that you know how exactly they felt in the match, or what went wrong, or what they felt was good, or what is it that they need to work on, or what help they need from the coach. So that is the difference which will happen as they go further. And then when you talk, another again important aspect of coaching is like the feedback you give. This is about helping them learn. Earlier we spoke about asking questions, helping them learn, and this one is about okay, yeah. And this one we will talk about is about feedback. How you give a feedback. I mean, the important thing with feedback is you need not praise all the time, because everything praise. Oh, good shot, good shot, good shot, great. Oh, you did a great job. That kind of loses its value. The child feels you're not actually being honest, because you're just saying all the time. A good way to give feedback, if you want to say something negative, is, I mean, you can say, okay, it's an attempt. The attempt was the first attempt was, it's the first time you're trying this. But when you were doing this, there was this particular aspect didn't go well. Like, again, you're teaching, suppose a child a top spin and it didn't go well. You can say, yeah, you tried to spin the ball. Yeah, but the spin wasn't how much we spoke about earlier, or you practiced earlier. And then the immediate next line should be, yeah, I'm sure, you try a few times, you will get it. So you basically put whatever negative thing or criticism or whatever you want to say, you put it in between, so that you start with something positive, the child is interested, Then you say, okay, this didn't go well, and the child is like, oh, okay. Then you say something encouraging and positive, so the child is, okay, I'm ready. I'll try. So that they call it the sandwich method. So you need to make sure that your whatever negative comment or criticism or not a positive comment is put in between two positive comments. And then when you're giving feedback, you have to be honest about it. As you said earlier, it wasn't a great execution, need not say good shot, so then it loses its value. I think I have another 5 to 10 minutes, so I'll try and run through little faster. Okay, we spoke about the non-verbal communication, right? We spoke about it earlier, so I will go faster on that. Somebody had mentioned earlier how action speaks louder than words. The best example of action speaking louder than words is for all married men. I mean, I don't know how to say that, right? One look from a wife, you know exactly what it means, right? And that's the only time when the non-verbal communication is so accurate. Normally, the non-verbal communication or a look or something can be misinterpreted, but this occasion, no, a happily married man will know what the expression is. So yeah, that is the non-verbal communication. We spoke about it earlier about your facial, your expressions, and in this, the most common thing we do is we give a high five, we pat, we give a small hug, we ruffle their hair. And these are all gestures which are normally used. But you got to be careful in one area when you are dealing with young children and girls, and keep the space, and don't make them feel uncomfortable, because it can be misinterpreted, and you can get into trouble. So as a coach, you need to make sure that when you have a physical body contact with the player, you watch out for things which is not inappropriate. Though you might not think about it, but it will be interpreted. So be careful with that. And also, when you feed, for example, how you the message you send, the enthusiasm you have on the court, how you walk, the body language you portray, when you feed. So you want to be as involved in the activity as possible. You can't be feeding, right? So as a coach, you got to send the right messages. And every time things don't go, there can be arguments, and sometimes people have parent has something to say, or the kid is complaining. So when you deal with these conflict situations, don't get emotional. I mean, you need to try and keep your emotions aside, and then listen first. Listen patiently, and tread gradually. Go slowly. Tread gradually. Don't jump into something or say something. Just listen, and see how you can find a solution. And if you can't find a solution right away, you tell them, okay, let me think about it and come back to you. So in the conflict situations, it's important that you take your time and don't rush into something. Okay, I mean, this is something which a lot of people are interested in, and it happens most of the time, because when you're working with players, and your time when you talk to players individually, and then before a match, during a match, after a match, and then various occasions. So I'll just quickly go through communicating with different situations. I mean, here I will use some examples of my experience with working with even the senior players. So when you're talking with players individually, whatever level, obviously your more friendlier because it's one-on-one, and you're also softer because trying to be, you make them comfortable, and it's not like a very formal thing. It's more informal, and you can get into more details, personal details, and also personal references, the last time, and your parents, or your partner, and you can talk a lot of personal things. You can't do that in a group. You don't want him being embarrassed or talking about others in a group. So when you're talking to players individually, you have a difference there. Yeah. Before a match, yes, that's one area which most coaches will be experiencing. You always try to stick to what you've spoken about, or what you prepared for the match with the player. So you have prepared something, and you have spoken to the player about that particular match and about the opponent is going to play. You stick to that, and always talk about very encouraging and positive things. I mean, the players sometimes have doubts, and they'll come back and say, "Oh, that's not happening." So you need to make sure that you remove that from their mind, and always bring in saying, "You're prepared well, and look, that practice session, that shot went well, so you will be okay with it." Just make sure you just stick to your plan or what you want to do. With smaller kids, you always talk about the effort. Make sure you give your best. Doesn't matter. I mean, this win or lose, it's not important, but how you played, how you tried, how you actually hung in there till the last minute. Don't give up. Maintain a good body language. So these are the things you will tell a younger player. The senior player, it's very clear. They have a game plan. You have spoken about it. You know what the opponent is going to do. So you just re-emphasize the whole thing, and then they with that before the match, and then you encourage them. So it's always about a lot of positive talk, a lot of encouragement, and then sticking to what you had originally planned. And during matches, coaches are not allowed to coach except in team this thing. One interesting experience I had, but there are times when nowadays they're allowed to coach. Like for example, you are in Spain, and Spain national tournaments you're allowed to coach. So you can be on one side of the fence, outside the fence, obviously. The opponent's coach on the other side of the fence. Then you put a chair here. So after every changeover, the player will come to you, and you can speak. So during the match, you can speak, but there again, that's more tactical, and you say, okay, you're doing this, okay, pay attention to this, and he's hurting you here. So you're talking about more tactical aspects, and if you feel is kind of little bit, you say pump yourself, get your legs working, get that energy level up. No, you're there. You can encourage and motivate. Actually, Australian Open for qualifying, they allow coaching. And this year, when I was traveling with Prajnesh, we weren't sure. He wasn't sure, I wasn't sure. So it's we said, so he goes into the court, the umpire, the toss, both the players at the net. Then he checks with the umpire, and then he looks at me and he says, "Yeah, it's allowed." And then the umpire tells me actually where to sit. The player is on this side. I have to sit on the same side, the coach's box or the chair. So they said those instructions were clear. You can coach the player in between points. He's on your side of the, if I'm sitting here and he's playing on my side, I can coach between points. If he's on the other side, I cannot talk, but I can show hand gestures. And between changeovers, whenever I want, I can call the player, or the player wants, he can come to me and speak. So this was the rules during the match. So first you need to check if the tournament allows you to coach during the match. If it allows, it is. And even that is sometimes difficult. Like one particular match, he was playing, and then he was really hot, and so a bigger kind of center court, and he was he was in the chair, and I was quite far. And then I wanted to tell something because he just lost serve. So I was trying to call him, and he said, "No, wait. It was and I thought, okay, he was tired. And it was too much to walk from there because he has to go to the other end after that. So, and you have only that time. Changeover time is not extended, right? So I thought it was he said, "No, I'm tired." So later I said, "Why did you come?" He said, "No, I was asking if I should come." So how communication need not work well. It was just a hand gesture because he couldn't speak. It was quite far. He had to really scream, and I had to really scream, which wasn't allowed. So an example of how communication can fail also. And actually, I wanted him to come. And he thought I was asking him if he wanted to come. And he was again asking me. So in asking, we both, I mean, he didn't come. After the match only, we figured that out. In Spain, it's easy. I mean, they come sit next to you and you can talk. And team championships, Davis Cups, yeah, they'll come to you. I mean, every changeover, you can talk to them. Again, the main theme will be to encourage them, or if it's a tactical thing and you spotted something, you need to be sure you explain to them well so there is no confusion when they go in the court. So there has to be a mutual trust between the player and the coach, and also like before the match, you should have spoken that, okay, I will touch on these things if it comes to it. And then he'll also, or sometimes the player will say, like, just keep an eye on this, like for return of serve, I mean, am I standing too close or too far, or like, if there's something you ought to let me know. So it's already spoken about. Okay, coming to after the match. I mean, after the match, it's like, it depends. Now, after the match, you normally say, okay, well played or bad luck or something, initial one. If they have lost the match, I mean, you have to give them time. I mean, each player is different, and you don't know how you will know the player, so you know how they react. So you have to give them time to. If they've lost the match, give them time, settle down. Emotions are highly strung up. They're coming out disappointed, angry, frustrated. You might also be the same. So it can be a big clash. So back off, calm down, just a pat, and leave it on. Again, talking about it, I mean, the Prajnesh, I give an example. One example of each individual is different. I mean, this was in recent ATP Atlanta. He played a match, and he was up the set and 5-4. It was like 1 point away from going break point and closing out the match. He lost in third set, and then he comes out, and then he came out, and with Prajnesh, it's like, he'll say, okay, let's go and let's talk right away. So for him, it's like very, very, very important for him to let it out. So when he comes, he starts talking. I'm just listening. And he spoke for an hour, just courtside. Okay, there was an umbrella, and he spoke. And he said, okay, let's go to the room. So we walked to the room. He was talking all along. And in between, okay, I throw in 1 or 2 questions. But he was been talking all along. We go to the room, and then he had a shower, came out, continued talking. He went to the restaurant, we were having lunch, continued talking. Then, okay, I went to watch some of the match. He went to sleep for some time. Came back to the room. So match finished around 2:30, and that day till 11 o'clock, except for like 2-3 hours in between, this conversation was going on continuously. And he was talking only about that match, about himself, how he can improve, what he needs to do. And it went on. And then next day we went on court. We played a couple of hours. There's a lot of yesterday's conversation had a connect on that day's practice, and there was conversation. And 2 days later, we were playing another tournament in Mexico, and he beat Millman there, that match. So, I mean, for him to get his head clear, it took so much time. So each player can be different. But as a coach, it's important to listen and help them out. So that was after a loss. But every player need not talk so much or want to talk after the match. And if it's a girl, it's different. They lose, it's different. So as coaches, you have to know that particular aspect. I think I'm running through a little bit because we'll be finishing now in 5 minutes. And in you have team meetings. Like suppose you have team meetings, like you have academy, and then you have coaches and other coaches, and you have your fitness trainer and your mental trainer. So first you explain yourself why you are on this meeting, and what kind of a background you come from, and what you expect from all the others to contribute, and what you are going to contribute. And so make it very clear to everyone what that meeting is for, because a lot of times you have these team meetings, and you can't address it the same way as you address one-on-one. And then there has to be time when you have to be assertive. Like, you cannot just, you have to say no at times, because you cannot afford not to say no. There are times when you have to say no, and learn to be assertive. Don't be afraid, because if you are afraid and don't handle it, that problem will continue, and it will come out as a bigger problem. And yeah, when you talk to parents, which is very, very essential, because Yuki said earlier, Nars said, parents are the backbone. Without parents, the child is not going to come to you. I mean, end of the day, the parents are spending. I mean, they are the ones who are giving you the children's fees. The children don't pay, right? So you have to talk to the parents, but let's be very open. keep it very open, be very honest, tell them, okay, this is what you can do. And when they come to you, pay attention to them. Okay, I know sometimes it's overbearing, they talk a lot, but you can draw a line, like, you can make it very clear, this is what it is, and this is how we will go ahead. And parents will appreciate that. So, talking to parents is important, and talking to parents, you have to work on that. Don't get annoyed, don't get irritated. No, if you have nothing to say, just listen. Because by saying something and annoying them, you unnecessarily break a relationship. Because more than the child, the smaller kids and younger kids, it's a child you actually decide the child first later. So if they have to stick to your academy and play with you, the child might be happy, but the parent is not happy, they will still move on. So be careful when you're speaking to parents, because they play vital role. They are the ones who are bringing them. They are the ones who are taking care of the child. They are the ones who are taking them for tournaments. So a lot of things parents do. And then when the child misbehaves, there you cannot compromise. First of all, in academy, you should have set rules that allowed, not allowed, and the disciplinary part, everything should be first described. And if they misbehave, you have to pull them up. But don't punish, too harsh, that is crazy. It will be relevant to whatever misbehavior, and again be consistent with all the players, so that with me, one of the things I do is when I'm particular about time, when the child comes late, whoever it is, I don't allow them to participate in that session, and that is consistent. So kids who played with me 30 years ago and kids who play with me now, they know this is the way I am. Given as an interesting story to tell about that when we first traveled as under 14. So, just an example of consistency. You remain consistent. Even recently, working in RBTA, I've set that rule, and now the coaches and the players are familiar. So you set the rule, then everybody follows. So, but misbehavior you cannot allow to go. And then also make sure the facts are right. I made a mistake once when I was in Pune working with Nandan, and I walked in. I had my helmet on, and I wished good afternoon, and I was removing the helmet. The players wished, but I didn't hear. So I thought it was very rude that they didn't wish me. So I sent them to the last court. They were the best players, supposed to play on the first court. I sent them to the last court. Then when Nandan walked in, and then said, "What happened? Why are they playing on the last court?" So, and later, 2 days later, one of the kids came and said, "No, actually, we did wish you, but you didn't hear." So it's actually my mistake. So before you punish them for bad behavior, first establish they did something wrong. And then we are talking about expressions and things. On your screen, the picture, that describes how the player is feeling, right? This was like one of the training sessions. So you know how the player is feeling. He doesn't have to explain to you, how fresh or how dead he is. It's self-explanatory. So anyway, and then now that we have, I'm almost done through it. My next slide, it's a question to all of you. Looking at the slide, you got to tell me what the teacher is trying to convey. So after listening to almost 45 minutes now, almost 45 minutes or more. Your question is, you learned about communication. We've spoken about different aspects and different ways of doing it, and also how not to do it. So my next slide is going to be your assignment for the day. Yeah, you can tell me what it means. And as you figure out what it means, you can type in the questions Q&A. I think we have a few minutes. Suresh?
No, we already shot past the time by 15
fine.
minutes. I think we will skip the question and answer.
Yeah.
But a fantastic presentation, Balu.
Yeah.
Packed with so
Suresh,
much
you want to guess what that expression is? Actually, there's a story behind it.
I can see an amusement in your eyes for sure, but your body.
There's a story behind it. You want? I'll just finish that story and.
Okay, I'll tell you what I see in the picture.
Yeah.
You have kind of an aggressive body language. You're trying to tell them something, but in your eyes, I see some kind of compassion, some amusement.
Yeah, correct. Actually, you're right. It's actually amusement. I'll tell you what that when the picture was taken.
Okay.
Actually, we were traveling in Austria. Those many years ago when there was no mobile connectivity and all those. And I was traveling with two boys, 18 and 20-year-old boys. So it's one of them had a good camera and he clicked. So we were traveling for a tournament, a small tournament, and I told the organizer that we will be arriving by this train, and he was supposed to pick us up. It was like 7:30 or 7:30 in the evening. It's going to get dark soon. And then we landed at the station. Not a single person in the station. No, obviously it's a small station in Europe. No taxi. No nothing. I mean, and I don't know German. I mean, two boys don't know German. We can't even ask. I had an idea of the hotel, but I had no idea where it was. There was no maps and things like that. So we were actually outside the railway station, going this side and going that side, left our bags, and I was just standing there and I was looking at those kids and asking them, okay, are we going to sleep here today? And then that was the time when this picture was clear. I didn't know. He showed me later. I was just standing there. So anyway, so yeah, it was a bit of disappointment. It was a bit of an amusement. It was a bit of a query and a little bit of anger also because that guy didn't come to pick us up. But he came 15 minutes later and whatever German he spoke, and then we had a hotel, room to sleep for the night. So that was, it ended well. All's well, that ends well. Yeah.
Hey,
thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Sai, for this opportunity. Yeah, over to you, Suresh.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Balu. It was a fantastic presentation, packed with so much information. If you want to get the entire, benefit of listening to this, discourse, I think they have to listen to it more times. This once listening to it, they would have got the information, but to retain it, it's not easy. So we will put up these presentations on the YouTube. We'll try to share it with you, the links on the groups that we have formed, and you can go back and take in the information. And also, the first part of the session, you were getting used to looking at the camera and talking, but I think it just took you 15-20 minutes, and after that, you were like completely at home. You were like,
yeah, it's funny actually. I mean, I'm just looking at my face and talking. I mean, it's like looking in the mirror. I think I need to practice that. You're familiar, Suresh. You've been doing it for the past 3 days now.
Yeah, that could be it. Right. Very good, Balu. Thanks a lot.
And thank you. Thanks, you all. Thanks for listening in, all you guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot for listening.
I'll see you tomorrow. All of you will, I'm sure, be here tomorrow.
Yeah. And we are sorry that we couldn't answer the question. There were some really nice questions. Yeah. I tried to answer a few, but they would have wanted you to speak about a lot of things there. So what we'll do is tomorrow we'll try to keep it strictly, we have the session for a while, and then we'll dedicate a certain amount of time for question and answer. That's for sure. From now on, we are also learning with this webinar thing, and then we will correct as we go forward. Yeah. And
I have to rush through a little bit today because
it was impossible with the amount of information that you had. I would have let you go. The question and answer was not so important as your discourse. So it is okay, perfectly all right for the session. And tomorrow we're going to have a fitness trainer, a fitness expert who's going to come in. He's also someone who's going to be who's been working with Balu, and he knows him quite well. And we're also going to have a surprise celebrity tomorrow as well. So don't miss tomorrow. Be there on time. Sign in 5 minutes before 10. And tomorrow, I promise you, we'll start sharply at 10. So thank you and see you all. Bye-bye. And have a wonderful day and stay safe. Thank you, Balu.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you.
Thank you, Himanshu.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Vishwadeep.